Hello, Bad Raven here today, and we're going to do another video for you. This is a blast from the past, in my past, I guess you could say, because this is going to go back. This is really going to date myself because it's going to be back to where I was in college at Union College in Barberville, Kentucky, and where I started. I started at a movie theater. Now, I've talked about this movie theater before in other videos. It was the Corbin Cinema 4. Cinema 4 because it was only 4 screens, of course. Now, this is not the new fancy Corbin Cinema that we all know and love today. This is the very lowly little Corbin Cinema 4, but great to me because back then it was, the shining light of movies and everything you would want to see on the big screen, Even though they were we had one big screen, 2 medium-sized screen, and a really tiny screen for the 4th screen. But, still it was 4 screens, and there was no movie theater close that could compete with it, because this video is going to be about my experiences working at a movie theater, and it was the old Corbin Cinema 4. As the group of people that became workers there would call it CC4. And one day we were taking my nieces and nephew to the theater down in Corbin. Me and my sister, and they were small. They're grown now. It was back in I'd say around 1989, as much as I recall, 1989, because it was Peter Pan was on. It was a re-release of Peter Pan, so we thought we would take them there to give them something to do. And they were smaller. I don't know exact ages of them, but it was my nephew Mark and nephew Lucas and niece Jessica, and we took them down there to go see Peter Pan. And we were getting the tickets at the ticket booth, and it was the old timey tickets, little orange-looking things that said "Admit 1." And I was standing at the there to get the tickets, and I noticed there was a Help Wanted sign there. So I was going to college at Union at the time, and this was like our summer break, while we were off. And we went into the movie, and I was sitting there, and I was thinking, I might should get an application. I ain't got I was working on campus a little bit, but I didn't have really a full-time or part-time job to speak of, and I always wanted to work at a movie theater, and I said, well, I'll maybe go up and get an application. So I went out to the concession stand, and I said, can I have an application? And they handed me an application, and they said, do you want to fill it out here? And I said, no, I'll bring it back in. So we drove all the way back from Corbin to where I live, and it's a 30-minute drive, and I was sitting there and said, well, what if they fill the job before I have a chance to turn this in? So I filled it out real fast and drove it back down there, and they were selling tickets for the other movies, and I went up to the ticket booth and I said, I want to turn this application in. So I handed it to the guy at the ticket booth, and he says, well, the manager's here, you want to speak to him right here? And I said, sure, if he wants to talk to me. So I came in, and I was standing there, and the manager came out, and his name was Johnny Sprolies, and he looked at my application, saw I was going to school at Union College. He said, well, can you work this weekend? And that totally blew my mind, because I wasn't really thinking I'd get hired that fast, and I'm like, sure, I can work, and he said, well, come back here on Saturday. I think it was like a Friday or Saturday, I can't remember, and he said, we'll give you an outfit, just wear khaki type pants and black shoes, and we'll give you the shirt, to wear. So he may have given me the shirt right then. I'm not sure. I think it was after I got back there. But anyway, I said okay, and I left. I was so in shock. I got this job I wasn't even expecting to get. I was expecting maybe get an interview and then not give it to me. So I went back home, and then I counted the days until it was time to go in, and I went in early and everything. And he gave me about 3 or 4 shirts and said, you got to take care of these shirts. And back then it was called Premier Cinema. The company was called Premier Cinema. And I went in the bathroom, changed into it, and got back out there. And he starts showing me how to, do the concessions and everything. And he said, well, this girl here will, and I can't remember the poor girl's name because I didn't work with her long. And she showed me, and she kind of worked with me through that night to sell, not sell tickets, but to sell popcorn and stuff like that. So I was scared to death, of course. Never been in a job like that face to face. And that was back then. I don't know if you knew the old Corbin Cinema. It was really small as far as the concessionary, not like puny, but I mean, like compared to the new one, the new Corbin Cinema, it was like a little bathroom. It felt like. So it was busy. It was crazy. Butter was on the floor. I was having a time out of the registers and everything, but I was having a time of my life because I'd never worked at a movie theater before, and it was really fun. So while as I kept working, I found out like on Thursday nights they tear down the old movies, and they put together the new movies for Friday, and we could watch them. We could actually sit there after the movies were over on Thursday night, and we could put the movie together and watch it to make sure that it was put together right, And I understand people don't understand why I'm saying put together. We used to get the movies in sometimes it'd be 2 big cans, that you could carry, and they were like I can't describe them. They had reels in them, and some movies, like if they were short movie, was only 5 reels long. Now, just when you get the movie and you open up the big outside case, you'd get the reels of the movie, and you'd have the film, the 35 millimeter film on each roll, and they'd be like, they'd be numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and sometimes you'd have 2 metal cases that the reels came in because there were so many of them. Because I think you only could put up to 3 in one case, and then you'd have another case and carry a couple more in that one. For the real long movie, like 6 reels or 7, you had several cases, sometimes 3 cases, put them in. So you would take them up there, which I didn't know how to do it at the time because I hadn't been trained on putting them together. They would, take each, they would put some, they call them trailers, the previews you see on the movie before it comes on. There'd be little rolls of, like it'd say the name of the movie that's coming soon. You would put, first you put like a leader tape because you had to thread this movie through a projector and out to another platter system, and you'd have it's like 3 different layers, 3 platter levels, and you would start on one where the movie was, and then you would thread it through the projector, and then come out of the projector and go into the next platter below it, and it would spool back up for the next showing. Well, you'd have a little leader tape, so you could have a little blank space there before it got back to the the new reel. So what they would do, they put the leader tape, you put the trailers on there, and I was like, first trailers? What do you want? We put a trailer out here? And they said, no, that's what the previews are called. So we put a couple of those on before the movie, and you got to put appropriate ones for whatever age group you had. So we put them on, then you would take the film, and you had like a table that sped up thing as you were like, the reel would be, you'd have it on this table, and it would be like spinning onto the big main reel onto the spool there that's on the platter, and you would do the first one, then you would have like this little machine, and you would like have yellow tape, and you splice where the place before you, because a lot of times we didn't get the movie right when it came out. Sometimes we did. If it was an older one, somebody had already spliced it, you'd have to cut their splice out and put your splice onto this little machine, and you would put a piece of yellow tape, and you would like smash it together so it would hold together. So then you would put that reel on, so forth until you get all 5 reels onto it, and it would be on the platter, we call it. And well, they would want to check it to make sure there was nothing wrong, like we didn't put one out of order, a reel out of order, or if it was backwards or anything, because somebody could do it wrong, put it in backwards. But anyway, so they said, we're going to stay and watch and see such and such movie, and if you want to, you can stay and we can watch it. So I loved that. Free movie, get to go see it, no big crowd, so we stayed and watched it. And when I got the job, they said you can get in free and one family member. Like if I wanted to come to a movie on my off day, I was able to go into the movies for free, and I was like in heaven for that because I would go watch anything, anything I mildly was interested in, I would go watch because it was free, and it was in the movie theater. So, so I was in heaven for that. And then as I started working there, I learned how to do more things. They put me on after I got the registers down. They put me on the tickets, and I was scared teetotally to death to talk to people, let alone to sell tickets to like people on the weekend where you was just constantly, talking, how many, and all this. It was only one ticket booth. So I go out there and they give me my money to start the day out with tickets. And he said, here's your place, you start. So I didn't know where to put the money. So there was this like big shelf below me, and I just stuck the money, stacked it up like that. And as people would come, I'd reach down there and I would get in that pile of money and get their change. And it was funny because the boss came up while I was selling the tickets and said, Steve, there's a drawer right there. And he pulls out this drawer. He pulled out this drawer. He said, you could put your money in there. And I was like, oh, I felt like the biggest moron ever put on earth. Because I like totally overlooked this big drawer with a big handle right there to put your money. So, what can I say? I was very not. I would get focused on something and I wouldn't see the obvious, I guess you could say. But after I learned that big reveal, I was able to sell tickets, and you'd be selling tickets like crazy. And they had all the possible combinations up here on the window, so you wouldn't have to use a calculator or something to figure out how much. Because that was before everything pops up and tells you what everything costs except on the registers. And there you was just like use your head math, and they taught me how to count back change and everything. And that really helpful today. But they would have like one adult, one child, and they have the price, and one adult, two child, and it would list all the way through two adults all the way to like 10, and so you never really needed to know exactly what those two prices were. So that was kind of an experience right there. But as I started working there, other people came along and got hired too. And there was my buddy Erin Emmons. He got hired a little bit after that, and my assistant manager was already there. I think she had got hired a little before me. Her name was Lynn Baumgardner, and she was had worked there enough to become assistant manager. So she was there, and I'm trying to think of all the other people that we had. I know there was down at the Cumberland College. There was a couple guys that I worked with. Was Charles Click and Kevin Sanders. They were all hired on there, and we all got to know each other, and we were, was really, it was really fun to work with them, and how we had a blast there. It was like a bunch of kids let loose. We would, we just all had our own little personalities, and we would stay after and watch the movies, get out at 3 o'clock in the morning. It was just one of those times. It was just really fun, and as we, I stayed there longer. I remember the first movie that I ever broke down, and when they actually started training me for the projection, was Jason Takes Manhattan. So I didn't get to see that one before I was hired. It was being tore down on that Thursday night, and I just remember looking at the film when we were breaking down the reels and seeing Jason standing in like New York City. I see, because when you look at the film, you can see the actual pictures on a 35 millimeter film, and I seen him there, and I just remember that that picture in my mind forever, and it was just, and so I know it came out in 1989, so I know that's how I figured out the year that was there, but like I said, we had all kinds of fun, and then one day I walk in to come to work one day, and all of a sudden I noticed that our manager, Johnny, is gone. And they said he's been let go. And I'm like, why? You know, I didn't understand why he had let him go. And we had an acting manager, I guess you could say, from La Follette, and I can't think of that guy's name to save me, but he was a nice guy, and he kind of, righted the ship until we could find another manager. And none of us had really been there long enough. And I said Lynn was assistant manager for me, but she really wasn't. She was a regular worker, but she had got there before me, Lynn had. And so I think they trained her to be assistant manager, and because she had been there longer and she wanted it, and the rest of us hadn't, been there very long, didn't have the chance to be able to go, to become a manager of it. But she was ready. She was ready to be the assistant, and she was good at what she did. And the guy was looking for another manager, and he ended up hiring a fellow named Steve Jenkins. And he was a big, tall fella, and he had the big black curly hair, almost like an afro in a way. But he became our manager. They trained him, and because he'd never run a theater before, and I guess he just had some other skills and other management types of positions, but he had never run a theater. So he got the job, and he was the party guy. He's the guy that liked to get the beer, and he liked to stay after work and let's have a little party with everybody like that. So I had my wild days with him as the manager, and he taught us a lot of stuff, but I won't go into, because this is a family show or family channel. But anyway, we worked under him, and he just kept the party rolling. And I remember being, they teaching me how to break down movies and stuff like that, and I put together, I think it was Look Who's Talking 2, the sequel to Look Who's Talking, where Bruce Willis plays the voice of the baby, and I had switched the reel, like reel 5 and 4, I mixed them up. I put the credits before the last part of the movie. And we were like, lucky we were showing a matinee, and I noticed that the movie was supposed to get out in an hour and a half, and it was getting out in an hour. And I was like, that movie got over awful quick. It shouldn't be out for another 30 minutes. So we're cleaning up the theater, and none of the people went out of the movie that watched the movie. There's only like 2 or 3 people watched the matinee, and they never said anything. So it's like sweeping up, and all of a sudden the movie pops back on after the credits. And I went, oh crap, I reversed the reels. So we had time to go back and put the reels back in shape. But I was like, to this day, I'm wondering, if I watched that movie and I cut that part out and put the end on it within an hour, would it make any sense? Because nobody complained. So I don't know if they were asleep during the movie or it just didn't help the movie having the ending. But anyway, that was one of my goof ups. And another goof up I did was on The Rocketeer. I had flipped the reel where there was a customer come out and said, the movie's upside down and it's playing backwards. We went in there, and sure enough, the Rocketeer going backwards across the screen, talking some gibberish upside down, and we had to stop the movie, give people refunds, redo it, because people think like the movies are like, VHS tape. You just hit rewind and you can rewind them. Maybe now with the digital part of theaters going over to digital and getting away from the 35 millimeter print, back then you had a huge round thing of film, and you couldn't, if you unraveled it the wrong way, you were going to be in a mess. So we had to physically, take the reels off, reverse it, and then put it back on, and it took, good 30 minutes to maybe an hour to do all that. But we was ready for the next show, and I got in a lot of heat for that. So probably we should have probably watched them like we were supposed to and make sure they were put together right the night before. But you get in a hurry and that stuff happens. But that was another crazy time. But in between these managers that I had, and also Mark Bolan became a manager after Steve Jenkins left. He went to a bigger theater. Steve Jenkins did. I think it was in Knoxville somewhere. And we got Mark Bolan, and he was, I think when he came in, we changed to Cinemark. Cinemark bought us all out. It was a Tennessee company that Premiere was, and then Cinemark was a national company, and they bought a bunch of the theaters in Kentucky. You know, the Millsboro one, us, and they changed, you know, all the graphics on the doors and stuff like that, and started doing things a lot different. So we were Cinemark, and they had a mascot, Front Row Joe, and I remember they sent us the Front Row Joe outfit, and it's like an outfit like you see at Disney World, like Mickey Mouse in. And I have pictures. I'm gonna try to put them on this video. Before I upload it. Me in the Front Row Joe outfit, because it was cool. And the kids come up to you, and you feel like you're Mickey Mouse, and it was just craziness all the time there. And the other people I've worked with are. I think Lisa Rodgers. I don't know if I said her, but she's a sweet girl. She worked with us. I really had a crush on her. I met my first wife there. She was at a movie, and she knew Tom Baumgardner, Lynn's brother, the assistant manager, Lynn. And my first wife knew Tom, and wouldn't know who I was or anything. But in the movie, somebody was talking, and I had to go in and make them be quiet. And later on in Walmart in Barberville, I ran into her again, and we started talking, and we started dating. So I had a lot of experiences there. I mean, a lot of great experiences. Scary experiences. Life experiences. Just all types of them. And then since that time, Lynn became the manager. Lynn Baumgardner became the manager, and I became the assistant. And we worked together. I worked on off days if she could be off, but we all worked on the weekends. But we were like a family. We all worked together, and we had a great time. I wished I could get up with them and like have a reunion, like at an Applebee's or someplace where we all could talk and share our stories, the good and the bad. Because we probably, they've all grown up and they've probably got families, all of them and everything. But I'd really like to see Lynn and Tom Baumgardner. I'd already see Dennis Chavies. He lives down the road from me. I see him anytime I want to, but I still like to hear his stories. And Erin Emmons, I think he moved to London, England, but he's on my Facebook page. So I'm gonna try to tag him so he'll watch this video. Because I still miss him too. He was a great guy. He wasn't there as long as everybody else, but he had to go on to school and stuff, but I still have fond memories with Erin. And Charles Click and Kevin Sanders went to Cumberland, so I don't know where. I think I ran into Charles years later in Lexington, and I've not seen Kevin since. And I would really like to find out how they're doing, what they end up doing in their lives and their families. Know if they have big families or if they got married or whatever. Sherry Baker, I think her last name was Baker, and I'm sorry, Sherry, if I got your last name wrong. An old man's memory here. And Steve Jenkins, if I could meet up with him again. Mark Boland, even Johnny Sprolies, Lisa Rodgers, all of them. I would love to, get to have a reunion with them. We could call it the CC4 reunion, Corbin Cinema 4 reunion, and just go over all the crazy stuff that we did, and it would be a blast. I didn't stay, and back in '92, when the London Regency came, London Regency Cinema 7 came, I went and became a projectionist there, and I left the crew and everything, and I became just a projectionist I guess I stayed there about 6 months. And then when Home Alone 2 was out, and they had, brand new projectors, brand new screens, brand new building. And I went on to those greener pastures and ended up not having the same, experiences up there. I mean, still not great people I worked with, but, I didn't have the same ones that I, gotten used to. And I ended up getting a job closer to home because I was driving quite a distance to London for that place. So I ended up getting my job at the water company. And, I ended up graduating and all that too from college, getting married and having a child. So I mean, it's just been a whirlwind. But I mean, I just wanted to, since I started this channel up and it's movie related, I just wanted to put my thoughts down of all the crazy things. And I could go on for hours, and I probably already have. You probably turned the video off and shot yourself in the head. But I just wanted to put down all the experiences we had, and I had a great time at this place, and I have very fond memories, and it's right here, and it'll always be in there for years and years and years till I can't remember it. But I just wanted to share those memories with you and tell you that we're still making the content, and we appreciate every person we have, all the subscribers we have, all the views that we've gotten. We appreciate you, and we are hoping to keep this going on for you, and just have something that everybody likes to watch. But I'll let you go now. I probably bored you to tears, but I just want to say thank you for watching, and goodbye.